Hey guys, so in this video we're going to be factoring trinomials with a leading coefficient of 1 or a equal to 1. What that means is that all of the problems you're going to be asked to factor in this section are going to look like this: x squared minus 6x plus 8, meaning you're not going to have any number in front of the x squared. That will be coming in the next video. So here's a nice little sign chart. I would take the time right now to pause the video, get this thing copied down, and then restart after you've copied it, because I'm going to be referencing it throughout the next 2-3 videos. So make sure you get this copy down. I'm not going to take the time to go through this, but what this just says, C being this last term, the constant, if it's positive, you have this scenario on the left. B is the term in the middle. Depending on whether B is positive or B is negative, will show you what your end factors will look like. Either they'll both be positive or they'll both be negative. On the other hand, if C is negative, remember that last term, that constant, you're always going to have one positive, one negative. And that is going to be probably the trickiest example or trickiest type. So we're going to make sure to reference that. So pause the video if you haven't already. Get this thing copied down, and then let's restart with example 1. All right, so example 1 says factor the given trinomial, x squared minus 6x plus 8. So all of this depends on C. So using my sign chart, before I do any factoring, I can go ahead and get the basis of my factors down. So I know it's going to be x and x, because that variable right there says x squared. Well, the only way to multiply to x squared is x times x, or the only way that for us, x and x. So I'm going to break that up. And then the 8 is positive, so the sign chart that you just wrote down tells me that if 8 is positive and 6, negative 6, both of these signs are going to be negative, negative. Which means I'm looking for two numbers that add to 6, because the signs are the same. So now from here, I'm looking for two numbers that add to 6 and multiply to 8, to the last term, or that C right there. So I'm going to look for all my numbers that multiply to 8. Once I find my list of factors of 8, then I can go back and see, well, which two of those will add to 6. And you can see right here, 2 and 4 will add to 6. Well, because I need negative 6, I'm going to go ahead and fill in negative 2, negative 4. Order does not matter for these. If you were to write it as x minus 4, x minus 2, either one of those would be correct. And so that, or the one up above with the order flipped, that would be your final answer. We are just factoring the trinomials. Example 2, factor the given trinomial. My last term, my constant, negative 30. So because C is negative, my sign chart tells me that I'm going to have one positive, one negative, which means I am subtracting, because opposite signs I subtract to the middle number, so I'm subtracting to 4, but I want two numbers that multiply to 30. Now we can ignore the negative sign. Yes, in the expression it's negative 30, but we've already taken into account the negative down here with my sign. So when I'm looking for the actual factors of 30, I'm just going to deal with the positive. And then when I take my numbers and I put them in over here to that thing, that's where I will take into account the negative. So I'm looking for multiples of 30, so I've got 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. Now, if the numbers are bigger, you can just find them in your calculator. 30 divided by 1 is 30. 30 divided by 2, 15. 30 divided by 3, 10, and so on. A lot of these numbers will be small enough you should be able to do them in your head, but you do have a calculator. So I need which two of those will subtract to 4. So I'm looking through, well, 1 and 30, that would give me 29. 15 and 2 would give me 13. 10 and 3 would give me 7. 6 and 5 would give me 1. So here's the trick. If I am confident I have listed off all my factors, which I am, and I cannot find any to satisfy that middle condition, this is what I call not factorable. This does not happen very often. I see students that will write not factorable for everything. Just because you can't factor it doesn't mean it is not factorable. So make sure you are very careful before you just click not factorable. Example 3, the trick with this one is you would probably look at that and you'd say 6v to the 4th. Whoa, I don't know how to handle v to the 4th. Everything else has been squared. Well, that's okay. I can actually just factor out a GCF. You do have to check GCF first. You cannot just omit it. It just so happened that all of these didn't have a greatest common factor. So we're going back to 6.1 with the GCF. We're looking for what is the biggest thing that all 3 of these terms have in common. Well, I know that they have a v squared. And then I also see that they have a 6 in common. So now I'm going to factor that out. I'm going to divide it out. If you're struggling with that, go back to 6.1. 6v to the 4th, factor out 6v squared is going to leave me with a v squared because I had 4 v's here. I took 2 of them out. Minus 60v to the 3rd. Well, 60 divided by 6 is going to give me 10. I had 3 v's. I took 2 out, so I'm left with 1. And then 144 v squared. 144 divided by 6 gives me 24. I had 2 v's. I took the 2 v's out, and so I'm left with just 24. Now what I'm going to do is take this middle part, and I'm going to factor that like normal. Factor it like I just did in the last examples. So I've got v and v. Now c is positive and b is negative, so I'm going to have negative, negative, which means I'm going to be adding to 10 and multiply to 24. So add to b, add to the middle thing, multiply to the last one. Well, my factors of 24, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 4 and 6. Well, which 2 of those will add to 10? Of course, that would be 6 and 4. And so I'm going to fill in 4 and 6. Again, order doesn't matter, so you could do v minus 6 and then times v minus 4. It'd still be all right. Do not forget to carry down your GCF out front. So your final answer would be 6v squared, my GCF, v minus 4 times v minus 6. Or, if you wanted to flip that order around, either one of those would be correct. And again, just to reiterate the sign chart, please make sure you get that copy down. It will hopefully help you moving forward in this class.